Khonsari is a former Iranian diplomat, and he joins me now from London for more. Mehrdad, great to have you with us here at TRT World. Now, several gatherings across Saudi Arabia in the final days of Muslim month of Ramadan. What are the Saudis hoping to achieve in regards to Iran?
Well, Saudis, I think, are trying to use the pressures imposed on Iran by the United States to carry Arab support behind the position that they have of trying to corner Iran and utilize this diplomatic offensive, or you might say more than a diplomatic offensive that has begun against Iran by the United States in terms of trying to improve its own position in the Gulf and as well as in relation with other Arab countries. But I mean, that's their ultimate aim. But of course, it's not that easy.
Mehrdad, Iran is already under economic sanctions. What else they can do?
Well, I think that, you know, obviously in the last 2 to 3 weeks, there has been increased talk of the possibility of some sort of military engagement. I don't think that any sane party, either in the United States or in Iran, wants to go that. And in fact, officials have been quite elaborate that they don't want things to go that way. But the Saudis and the Emiratis and the Bahrainis, these three within the GCC, who are, of course, isolated within the GCC because of the stance that Saudi Arabia took against Qatar last year, they want to maximize pressures on Iran in order to put themselves in the best position of advantage. And they hope that they think that by holding this summit in Mecca in this holy month at this particular time, that they can rally the Arab world behind them in trying to isolate Iran and put further pressures on Iran.
King Salman invited Qatar's emir to this summit, but Qatar is it's already sent its prime minister to Saudi Arabia. What does this mean? Are they willing to negotiate with Saudi Arabia?
Well, I think that this could possibly signal a good start in terms of trying to end this terrible situation that has arisen between Saudi Arabia and Qatar. It's an opening step, but the aim was to get the Emir to come in the first instance, for the king to greet him at the airport. That would have obviously been a better signal in terms of trying to put the past difficulties behind and start some sort of a negotiating process. This could be interpreted as a sign in that direction, but the point is that there's a lot to be worked out, and what the Saudis were hoping is to gain some sort of consensus against Iran, and it's very unlikely that the Qataris will at this particular stage want to turn their backs to Iran and countries like Turkey that have stood behind them during their period of difficulty with the Saudi Arabians.
And Mehrdad, how important is the de-escalation of the tensions between the US and Iran for the region and Muslim world itself?
I think, you know, if they do not de-escalate, if for some chance, as the Iranian foreign minister recently said in New York, there is some kind of a intended accident that gets things out of hand, it will be catastrophe for the region. It will be catastrophe for the world economy. If there is conflict in the Persian Gulf, the price of oil could rise 2 or 3 times what it is, which has a devastating effect on the economy of Western Europe, Asia, developing countries, and not to mention the damage that it will do to the infrastructure and the standard of living for people living in and around the Persian Gulf. So I don't think anybody in their sane mind wants that to happen, and that is the hopeful bit, you know, that somehow matters will de-escalate and that some sort of normalcy will be returned in terms of the relations. And you have to bear in mind that the Iranians have themselves taken action in this regard by the Iranian foreign minister last week calling for a non-aggression pact between Iran and the regional states in the hope of trying to de-escalate these very kind of tensions that might possibly get out of hand.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Mehrdad Khonsari, a former Iranian diplomat, live for us from London.